Who are the best characters on House of the Dragon?
For me it's Viserys. I was not expecting Viserys to be the standout character, but Paddy Considine nails every scene he's in and has elevated the character far beyond his fire and blood counterpart. Even George R.R. Martin thinks that House of the Dragon's Viserys is a more complex improvement on his own writing. Considine's Viserys is essentially a good man in tragic circumstances, increasingly of his own making. He is a fascinating mixture of deeply conflicted, tragic, vulnerable, hypocritical, strong and forgiving. I like that this Viserys is savvier and, at least until episode 6, actively trying to stave off disaster, despite a mixture of some really bad and some decent decisions, both by himself and his family members. I couldn't imagine Fire and Blood Viserys confronting Daemon over Rhaenyra and thought it was a definite improvement. This Viserys strikes me as being far more invested in the future of his house while still loving his daughter and brother and being willing to overlook many of their transgressions, which makes for some interesting personal conflict. Matt Smith is really good as Daemon, not a surprise, and Millie Alcock has been a capricious and interesting Rhaenyra, but something about Paddy Considine's portrayal strikes a deeper, more authentic note. Viserys feels like a real person. There is an almost Shakespearean quality to him which is more moving because he is a stronger and savvier character. Daemon Targaryen. I admit I am conflicted as to why I like him so much. I admire Daemon's lack of hypocrisy. He knows what life is about. What some may call selfish, I saw as taking care of himself. As a second son, he had to carve out his own treasure. He couldn't stomach preening lords who flattered and lied their way into success. Daemon makes his own luck. Underneath all the barbed wire and razor blades, he stands for something, I will call it personal honor. The only thing he fears is rejection from the people he loves. That is the one thing that can hurt him. I don't support Daemon's deeds. When I read Fire and Blood, I figured he had killed Rhea, but I didn't understand why. Sure, he wanted her out of the way so that he could marry Rhaenyra, but that struck me as too cold for him. I figured she had gotten under his skin, but nothing in the text illustrated their relationship save that he found her unattractive. When the showrunners decided to have her taunt him, his reaction made sense because he hates ridicule from those he deems inferior. Unfortunately for everyone else, he only sees Rhaenyra, Viserys, and maybe Corlys as equals. In the books, it is unclear how he sees Lena. Part of me wonders how I can like this guy who does terrible things and feels little remorse. He isn't a Jaime Lannister who grows as a human being once he meets conflicts that he can't solve. Life as a Stark prisoner for 2 years, losing his sword hand, seen as an ugly crippled by Book Cersei, the handiwork of his lord father in Riverrun. But I think that is the point of Daemon Targaryen. He does things that make him a bad guy, yet he isn't, not really. He commits acts that we judge as heinous because he sees himself as protecting his side. Daemon cares about the legacy of House Targaryen. He sees himself and Rhaenyra as true dragons. Viserys caves to the wishes of his small council and other powerful lords. Alicent isn't a person to Daemon, so their children aren't his equals. Daemon is driven by his mission, so his horrible actions accomplish good in his eyes. They fulfill his need for fighting what truly matters for him, House Targaryen as it should be. As a second son, he has to make the world clean for his true bloodline. There is honor in Daemon's personal code. It works for me. So far Viserys is my favorite. He's something you don't see all too often in mainstream TV or film. He's weak, but not overly weak. He's good, but not overly good. He's not a genius, but he's not stupid. He's almost like a real person, not just a caricature of a soft king. He's a gray character full of good and bad qualities in varied measure, played excellently by Paddy Considine. He's the standout for me. Other than that, most of the characters have been written and portrayed quite well overall, but each of them have far less subtlety than Viserys and are closer to the played stereotypes one might expect from a show in this setting. E.g. Daemon mostly deafened by and lives up to the evil plotting brother. Rhaenyra, the tough female in a man's world who wants to break the mold. Rhys Ifans as the scheming advisor, hand, and so on. As stated, Viserys is the weak king, but Considine's portrayal balances that weakness by presenting a genuine concern for his family and a subtle underlying strength that prevents the character from becoming a weak and detestable wretch. Rhaenys Targaryen. Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, Eve Best, is the cousin to King Viserys I and was thrown to the side as a possible ruler because she was a woman. She is married to Lord Corlys Velaryon, and had 2 children she loves tremendously. She may seem kind and family-focused, but Rhaenys has ultimate ambition, and claim knowing the importance of power. She has even given her son to Viserys' daughter, in the hopes that her house will rule. Rhaenyra Targaryen. Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, Emma Darcy and Millie Alcock, is the main protagonist of House of the Dragon, and she is the daughter of King Viserys and heir to the Iron Throne. She is a strong-willed, cunning, and independent woman who will back down from nothing. She is not seen much in the show as a whole, but her moments are usually quick-witted, bitter, and full of strife. She is not an audience favorite, but she received much sympathy from viewers who think she should have been the better ruler of Westeros. Throughout the series, viewers saw a young Rhaenyra and an older version of herself who now has 3 children. Fans have taken a liking to Rhaenyra's endeavors in the series and are rooting for her against the egotistical Aegon. Lady Baela Targaryen. Lady Baela Targaryen, Bethany Antonia, is the second wife of Prince Daemon. She is from House Velaryon and is a valiant dragon rider along with her husband. Some thoughts on good King Viserys I and the Iron Throne. He is my favorite and I have completely different reason for it. As it related to the Iron Throne and its literary purpose in this epic fantasy, I fully believe that the Iron Throne is the One Ring. George was so heavily inspired by Tolkien's work, even adapting RR as middle initials on his books, that he wanted to pay tribute to the world Tolkien built, with dragons and castles and lords and legends and world building, without as to much stealing anything. That he develops his own homage to the LOTR by using the same elements and themes. The One Ring corrupted those who sought its power. Once they had it, they didn't want to give it up. Emphasis on those who sought its power, not those who had it but did not want it. See, Gandalf and Ned Stark. The throne corrupted all who sought it. Robert Baratheon and Daenerys, to name a few. So why, might you ask, did it so violently disfigure Viserys, yet he remained a good man? Because, like his great-great-great-great plus grandson, he didn't want it. Viserys never had ambition to be king. He reluctantly accepted it when the lords of the Great Council decided he was to be named heir. Viserys did not seek the power of the throne, so he was not morally corrupted by its power. Yet, he was discarded all the same. Cut and disfigured and rotted away. Much like another LOTR character who had the One Ring for many years, did not seek its power, didn't even know what it was, and that was Gollum. Gollum eventually lost his mind and became obsessed with it, but I believe the similarities between Viserys and Gollum are just that. Just look at this screen cap. Viserys began to lose his hair and its last strands dangled from his head, much like Gollum. Both were equally destroyed by the narrative central item of this tale and exposure to it, even though neither desired the power they had. Jon Snow, the true-born heir to the seat, didn't want it, and made that clear, and it was only Drogon who realized that the throne was to blame for everything. Even though Jon killed Daenerys, Drogon knew Jon did not do it because he wanted the throne and blamed the throne for his mother's death and ended the corruption once and for all. There's no other explanation for it, other than the Iron Throne is the One Ring here. Forged in fire. Destroyed by fire. One throne to rule them all, the conquest.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future also. Don't forget to like and subscribe to you never miss a video.